Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too.
I never thought a part-time job could change my entire understanding of fear. People assume Starbucks baristas deal with long lines, annoying customers, maybe a spilled latte here and there, but never the kind of nightmare that crawls under your skin and refuses to leave. I used to believe the scariest thing in my life was juggling college tuition and double shifts. I was wrong. Before everything went to hell, my life was normal. Boring even. I grew up in Riverbend, a quiet Michigan suburb where Friday nights meant Target runs and overpriced frozen yogurt. My parents moved there when I was 10 because they wanted someplace safe, someplace boring. And until a few months ago, I believed they had succeeded. I enrolled at a community college close to home and picked up a part-time job at Starbucks on Maple Crossing Road, a store surrounded by office buildings and a gym where people pretended to work out. Life was predictable, safe, almost painfully ordinary. I didn't know how quickly ordinary could rupture. It all began on a Thursday afternoon around 4, that awkward in-between hour when the after-school rush fades and the after-work rush hasn't kicked in yet. I was on break, laptop open, half typing a paper for my sociology class, while sipping a white mocha I definitely shouldn't have made for myself. I remember the soft jazz playlist and the hum of the espresso machine, the perfect background noise for pretending to be productive. But that day, I had a problem no caffeine could fix. I'd been dealing with stomach cramps since morning, and I swear the only time the restroom wasn't occupied was the exact minute I didn't need it. When I finally got up to go, the hallway was empty. Relief. I remember locking the stall door, sitting down and thinking, finally. Then, and this memory still sends a cold wave down my spine, I felt this weird awareness, like someone else was in there with me even though I knew the restroom was empty. I tried shrugging it off as paranoia from all the late-night TikTok true crime videos I had been binging. I finished, washed my hands, and got back to work. I had no idea that moment had already been recorded. Hours later, after closing shift, I got in my car and checked my phone. A new message request on Instagram. Username, @crimson_echo91. No profile picture, 0 posts. At first I thought it was spam. Some bot trying to sell crypto or collab with me BB Kiss. I opened it casually and dropped my phone so fast it bounced off the passenger seat. A video of me in the restroom, sitting on the toilet. The angle, underneath the seat. My throat dried instantly. My hands trembled so hard it took me 2 tries to unlock the screen again. I played the video a second time, hoping it was some glitched filter, a joke, something. But there was no mistaking it. The faded tile floor, the chipped stall door, our restroom. "What the hell is this?" I typed, fingers shaking so badly I kept hitting the wrong letters. The reply came instantly. "Just saying hi, Ivy." The fact he knew my name made my blood turn to ice. "What's your problem, dude? Delete it. Now." 3 dots appeared. Then a message. "Be my girlfriend. 1 week. Do that, and the video stays with me. Say no, and it goes everywhere. TikTok, Reddit, your school, your parents, all of them." I stared at the screen, heart pounding like it wanted to crack my ribs. "You think you can blackmail me?" I typed. The reply slammed into my screen. "Careful what you wish for, Ivy Hale." That was it. Conversation over. I drove home numb, every muscle in my body trembling. I went straight to the police station. No shower, no dinner, just raw panic and adrenaline. The officer at the desk, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, took my statement. She asked for screenshots, the username, the video. When she watched it, she didn't flinch, but her jaw tightened. Hidden cameras in public restrooms are more common than people realize, she said softly. We'll look into it. Hours later, she called me. The account is using a VPN, fake info, no traceable identifiers, but we'll continue investigating. Translation? We can't find him. I felt like someone had wrapped cold hands around my lungs and squeezed. I got home around midnight. My porch light flickered in the breeze. For a second, everything seemed normal, until my phone rang. Unknown number. At first, I wasn't going to answer, but something in me, panic, anger, desperation, made me pick it up. Hello? At first, silence. Then a low chuckle, wet, breathy, close to the receiver. My skin broke out in goosebumps. Who is this? I demanded. More chuckling. Then the voice, raspy and too calm. It's me, Ivy. Don't pretend you forgot already. My stomach dropped. Chris? I whispered. You sound scared. Cute. Leave me alone. Oh, sweetheart, that's not how this works. He exhaled slowly, like he was smelling something sweet. I left you a little something outside. What do you mean? Go look, Cupcake. The nickname made my jaw clench. I walked to the porch, phone still pressed to my ear. My legs felt like wet noodles. There, right on the welcome mat, sat a Starbucks cup. My name written on it in thick marker, and my lipstick mark on the rim. From earlier that day. He had dug it out of the trash. Oh my God, I whispered. That's from when you took your break, Chris said softly. Thought you might want it back. You reuse things, right? Sustainable queen. I nearly threw up. You called the cops, he said, tone shifting, voice cracking like static. I told you not to. I know your parents' house. 15 blocks from yours. Cute place. White shutters. Blue truck in the driveway. My knees weakened. Try calling the police again, he whispered, and I'll pay them a visit. And your best friends, what are their names? Let me think. Jessa and Marin, right? My heart stopped. He knew everything. Then, now be a good girl. Be mine for 1 week. It's simple. Click. The call ended. I stood frozen on the porch, holding a cup that felt like a bomb. 2 days later, he texted, Starbucks, Friday, 3 p.m., sit with me. I tried to refuse. I tried to think of any way out. But whenever I hesitated, he sent screenshots of my parents' house, taken from different angles, some clearly taken at night. So I went. The moment I walked inside, my breath hitched. A man in his mid-40s sat in the corner. Messy gray hair, wrinkled leather jacket, red turtleneck. Eyes that looked too wide, like they didn't blink enough. He smiled when he saw me. Teeth slightly yellow, lips peeling. He waved. I took a seat, legs shaking. You must be Ivy, he said. Finally. Yeah, I muttered. That's me. He leaned forward, eyes scanning every inch of my face. You're prettier in person. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat. He slid a drink toward me. Caramel macchiato, extra drizzle, just how you like it. I stared at him. How do you know that? He smirked. I pay attention. Everything in me screamed to run. Then his hand touched mine, cold, clammy, and slid higher to my lap. My breath hitched. What are you doing? I whispered sharply. What? Couples touch, he chuckled. That's how it works. I pulled my hand away. His smile vanished. Don't forget our agreement, Ivy. Parents, friends. He made a slicing motion across his neck. Every sound in the store seemed to vanish. My heartbeat was louder than the espresso machine. I nodded slowly. Okay, just don't hurt anyone. His smile returned instantly, like flipping a switch on a puppet. Good girl. That week was the longest of my life. He made me stay at his apartment, if you could even call that place an apartment. It looked like a storage unit someone had given up on halfway through renovation. Every night he chained my wrists and ankles to the bed frame, so I wouldn't escape. He slept beside me like it was the most normal thing in the world. He smelled like cigarettes and sweat and something metallic, like old pennies. Sometimes he watched me sleep. Sometimes he whispered things in the dark, thinking I was unconscious. You're perfect. You're mine. I waited so long for this. I cried silently more times than I can count. 2 days before the week ended, I got a call from my parents. "Come home Sunday," my mom said cheerfully. "Family dinner. Your cousins are in town." Chris overheard everything. When I hung up, he smiled bizarrely wide. "I'd love to meet them," he said. "Introduce me as your boyfriend." "No," I said immediately. "My family will know something's wrong. They'll see." His eyes darkened. "You're going to do it, or someone's not waking up Monday." So Sunday evening, I arrived at my parents' door with his hand locked around mine. My mom's eyes widened, my dad's face dropped. Honey," my dad whispered in my ear. "Is everything okay? Who is this man?" Chris stepped forward, interrupting. "I'm Rowan, Ivy's boyfriend." Rowan, a fake name, of course. My parents stiffened, but were too polite to say anything. They invited us in. My aunts and uncles exchanged concerned glances. My cousins whispered. In the kitchen, my mom grabbed my wrist. "Sweetheart, where did you get these bruises?" I froze. Chris sat at the dining table across the room. He looked up at me. He twirled a steak knife between his fingers. The message was clear. I forced a smile. "Oh, I fell at work, slipped in the stockroom. It's nothing." My mom didn't believe me, but what could she do? When the 7th day ended, Chris, shockingly, kept his word. "You're free," he said, unlocking the chains. For now. I ran. I didn't even look back. I quit my job. I stopped using public restrooms. I only went out if necessary. But fear never left. 3 weeks later, I walked into the same Starbucks, trying to reclaim some sense of normalcy, and my heart turned to stone. Chris sat in the same corner, holding hands with another girl, a young woman, maybe barely 19, face stiff with fear. "Give me a kiss, Cupcake," he said to her. She hesitated. He squeezed her wrist hard. Then he looked at me. He winked and smiled. Just like that, I knew. I was never his first victim, and she wouldn't be the last, and he was still watching me. I walked out without looking back, but his voice still follows me. Every night, every crowded restroom, every creak behind me. You don't see me, but I see you. I never thought a job that paid barely above minimum wage would end up changing the way I looked at the world. Back then, Starbucks was just Starbucks, a place where the espresso machines squealed like stressed-out toddlers, where customers acted like missing soy foam was a federal crime, and where the back room smelled like old caramel drizzle and wet cardboard. I wasn't supposed to stay long. I had plans, real ones. I was saving up for a nursing program. My coworkers joked I'd be checking pulses while steaming milk, but you know how life gets. 1 month turned to 2, then 6, and somewhere in there, I started finding comfort in the routine, in the hum of the fridge, the drip of the sink, the low chatter through the headset. And, if I'm being honest with myself, I liked the quiet hours, especially the late-night shift. My name is Lorelei Trent. Most people just call me Laura. And this is the night I stopped believing that creepy customers only exist in viral TikTok stories. The Starbucks I worked at wasn't one of the cozy ones with warm lighting and acoustic guitar music floating around. Ours sat on a lonely 2-lane highway near Barrow Hollow, a rural stretch in northern Missouri where folks only stopped for gas, cigarettes, or caffeine strong enough to keep them awake on a 100-mile drive home. The inside closed at 9, but the drive-through stayed open until midnight because corporate believed that rural communities deserve late-night coffee access. Translation: they didn't care about the 2 employees stuck covering it. My shift usually ran from 4 p.m. to midnight. Sometimes I was paired with someone, but on slow nights, most nights, they left me alone after 10. It wasn't supposed to be dangerous. Everyone said Barrow Hollow was quiet, but quiet places hide the worst monsters. It was October 3rd, cold enough that you see your breath, but not cold enough for snow. The kind of autumn night where everything feels sharp and still. The wind kept rattling the flimsy back door like someone was testing the lock, but that always happened on windy nights. I clocked in like usual, tied my hair into a bun, and tried to ignore how my manager Shelley had somehow managed to smell like cheap vape juice and regret. "You're closing alone tonight, kid," she said, grabbing her purse. "If anyone asks, I stayed till 10. "Shelley, you're literally leaving at 8, I muttered. She shrugged. "Corporate ain't driving out here. Don't burn the place down." Real inspiring. By 10:12 p.m., the store was dead silent except for the espresso machine's low hum and the whistling from the drive-through speaker when wind blew across it. I was restocking syrups when I heard the chime. A car pulled up to the intercom. Finally, a customer. I wiped my hands on my apron, slid the headset back into place, and forced my customer voice, the one that made me sound much nicer than I actually felt. "Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you?" What I heard wasn't an order, not even close. The voice that came through was quiet, too quiet, almost like someone whispering right into my ear. "You sound tired." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," the voice said, rough like gravel sliding across concrete. "You sound tired, miss." I forced a polite laugh. "Yeah, long shift. What can I get for you tonight?" Silence, just static. Then, "I've been listening to you for months." The hairs on my neck snapped to attention. "Sir, do you want to place an order?" "You always work nights," he continued, ignoring the question. "You always sound lonely around this time." My throat dried up. Customers flirted all the time. Creeps were common. But this was different. His voice wasn't playful or teasing. It was wrong. Like he wasn't talking to me. He was talking about me. "How about you drive up to the window?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I can't hear you clearly." "Oh, I know you can," he whispered. "I know exactly how close I am to you." Something deep in my chest tightened. I glanced at the CCTV monitor. I expected a car. I expected headlights. But the feed showed nothing, just an empty lane. My heart thudded heavily in my chest. "Sir, I can't take your order unless you pull forward." "I will," he said. "Just wanted to hear your voice first. Wanted to know if it still matched the face." "The face?" I backed a step away from the window without meaning to. The headset crackled like the wind was pushing against it again. "You cut your hair," he said softly. "Used to be down to your back. Now it's just above your shoulders." My blood ran cold. There was no way he could see me. The inside lights were dimmed. The drive-through had no front-facing windows. "How do you know what I look like?" "You make drinks in front of a window, sweetheart," he murmured. "People see things." "Sir, I'm asking you one last time." "I liked you better with long hair." My breath caught. Then the speaker went dead. I swallowed hard, walking back to the espresso station and wiping non-existent dust off the counter, pretending my hands weren't shaking. Don't panic. Probably just some stupid prank. Shelley would have rolled her eyes and told me to stop being dramatic. I tried to distract myself by cleaning the steam wand when bright headlights washed over the window. A truck had pulled up. Not a normal one. An old beat-up Ford with faded green paint and a front grille held together by zip ties. No license plate, no bumper. My stomach dropped. The intercom hadn't picked up any engine sounds. No tires on gravel. Nothing. I stepped closer to the window, but I didn't open it. The driver sat there motionless. "Sir," I said through the glass. Slowly, he leaned forward. His face came into view under the fluorescent light. Thin hair, sunken cheeks, eyes that didn't blink enough. And the worst part? He was smiling, but only with his lips. His eyes stayed dead. He lifted a hand and pointed at the window latch, mouthing, "Open." I shook my head. He mouthed again, slower, "Open it." I stepped back. That's when he spoke. Not through the headset, but through the barely cracked window, his voice scraping out like rusted metal sliding across concrete. "Lorelei." I froze. He shouldn't have known my name. I wasn't wearing a name tag. "How?" I swallowed. "How do you know who I am?" He rested his elbows on his steering wheel. "I don't just watch you at work." The fear hit me so fast I couldn't breathe. I reached for my phone but realized it was in my locker. In the office. 10 steps away, but it felt like a mile. "Sir, if you don't leave, I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," he whispered. "They won't get here in time." He reached down into the passenger seat. I thought he was grabbing a gun. My chest caved inward. Instead, he lifted something else, a plastic binder full of photographs. He held one up to the window. It was a picture of me, standing outside my apartment, taken from across the street, at night. My knees buckled. "How the hell did you—" He slapped the photo against the window, his smile widening. "You had long hair back then." My body moved before my brain did. I ran for the office, slamming the door shut, twisting the lock so hard it nearly snapped. The truck engine roared. He was out of the car. I heard heavy boots hitting the pavement. Then, slam, slam, slam. He was pounding on the back door of the store. My heart beat so violently, I thought I was going to pass out. "Open up, Lorelei," he shouted through the steel. "I want to talk to you." I grabbed the phone attached to the office wall and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. 911, what's your emergency?" "Someone's trying to break in," I gasped. "Please, please hurry. He knows my name. He has pictures, please." The dispatcher told me to stay on the line, but the pounding on the back door stopped. Silence. Then I heard something worse than pounding. Footsteps inside the store. I covered my mouth to muffle a scream. He was inside. How did you—" I whispered to myself. Then I remembered the back door latch. The wind always rattled it. Shelley never fixed it. The dispatcher kept asking questions, but I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. Through the office door, I heard the slow shuffle of boots, not rushed, not frantic, searching. "Laura," he sang softly, "come out, sweetheart." The lights flickered. Something metallic dragged across the floor, like a chain or a tool being pulled behind him. "Did you get my note?" he asked calmly. "Left it on your windshield weeks ago." My heart lurched. A note? I never saw a note. He stopped outside the office door. I pressed myself against the file cabinet. Tears choked in my throat. He tapped on the office door. "Your apartment is nice," he whispered through the crack. "Smells like vanilla candles. You always shower around 11. You fall asleep watching crime shows. I know everything about you." I broke. A sound came out of me that I'd never made before, a strangled, helpless plea. "Please," I sobbed, "please don't hurt me." Silence. Then he pressed his mouth right against the crack and whispered, "I'm not here to hurt you, Laura. I'm here to keep you." The door handle jiggled violently. The dispatcher yelled through the phone, Ma'am, are you safe? Officers are on their way." "Please hurry," I screamed. The handle twisted again. This time, the lock began to give. I kicked the filing cabinet against the door, wedging it. He slammed his body into it. Once, twice, a third time. The filing cabinet screeched across the floor, inching away. He was overpowering it. I scanned the room. No windows, no weapons, just paperwork. and the metal access door to the roof ladder. I climbed. Halfway up, the office door exploded inward. His hand shot up, grabbing my ankle. I shrieked, kicking, twisting, scraping my shin on the ladder rung until warm blood slid down my leg. He tightened his grip. "Stop fighting," he roared. I kicked again, harder. My heel connected with something soft. He howled and let go. I climbed like my life depended on it, because it did, until I burst through the metal hatch and into the freezing night air. The parking lot below lit up with red and blue lights. The police had arrived. I collapsed onto the gravel roof as officers stormed inside. They dragged him out minutes later, kicking, spitting, screaming my name. His eyes never left me, not even once. They found a notebook filled with my schedule, dozens of photos of me at home, work, grocery stores, maps tracing routes. I drove notes about my habits, friends, social media posts, zip ties, a bone saw, and a list titled, "What to Do When I Take Her." The sheriff said he'd been watching me for months, waiting for a night I was working alone. He almost got what he wanted. I moved within a week, changed my number, quit Starbucks forever. But the worst part isn't the memory of him breaking in. It's that final moment when the officers shoved him into the cruiser. He leaned forward, blood on his teeth, and mouthed, "Not over. I still dream about that smile." I never planned on becoming the closing shift lead at the Riverside Avenue Starbucks. That wasn't the kind of thing I used to picture for myself. Back in high school, I thought I'd be designing album covers or working with some indie studio. Life had other plans, expensive plans, and so here I am, 5 years in, with a green apron that's practically stitched to my soul. Riverside Avenue isn't the fancy part of town. It sits right between the State College and a row of old brick apartment buildings that look like they're barely holding themselves together. Every night, our store fills up with a strange mix: exhausted grad students, professors who always smell like chalk dust, broke undergrads, and night shift hospital workers who need caffeine like oxygen. My manager calls me the anchor of the evening shift. I call it being stuck. My name's Erwin Gable, but nobody calls me that. Everyone just says Win. The night everything changed started like any other. Me behind the counter, fighting with the temperamental espresso machine, the overhead speakers playing that same soft indie playlist. Corporate insists keeps people calm. The lights were too bright, the air too cold, and the smell of roasted beans clung inside my clothes, no matter how many times I washed them. But before we get there, you gotta understand something about me, something that matters. Backstory: real, not pretty. My dad wasn't in the picture much. He left when I was 8. He didn't take anything except the pickup truck and whatever pieces of my mom he could rip out on his way out. She worked herself raw to raise me, cleaning jobs during the day, diner shifts at night. I used to sit in the back booth doing homework until I'd fall asleep on laminated menus. He never called, never wrote, never sent a single damn dollar. Mom always said, "One day he'll show his face again, and when he does, don't let him drag you down." Funny how life works. She passed away 2 years ago. Stroke. The kind that strikes fast and leaves nothing but questions in its wake. And just like that, the last person who actually gave a damn about me was gone. So yeah, I worked evenings at Starbucks to pay off her medical bills. Life isn't a movie. People don't rise up dramatically. They survive, they float, they try. That's all I ever did, until he walked in. He didn't match the vibe of the store at all. While most people wore backpacks, sweatpants, lanyards, and earbuds, this guy looked wrong, like he came from a place that didn't exist anymore. He wore a suit, a cheap one, but not the kind worn by office workers. This one was wrinkled beyond saving, stretched in places, frayed at the cuffs. He wasn't clean-shaven either. Patches of gray stubble covered his jaw. His hair was combed, but the kind of comb that meant he cared once, years ago, and just kept repeating the motion out of habit. He moved slow, Too slow, like his limbs were fighting him the whole way. He stepped up to the register while I was wiping down the counters. "Evening, sir," I said. "What can I get started for you?" He didn't answer at first, just stared. Not creepy at the beginning, more like he was trying to remember how conversations worked. Then, large coffee. He didn't say grande, didn't say venti, didn't say hot coffee or Pike Place or anything else customers usually specify. Just large coffee. "Sure thing," I said. "You want space for cream or sugar?" "No," he said. "More room for coffee." The way he said it made my stomach pull tight, like every syllable came from somewhere deep, like he was chewing something unsaid. I rang him up, filled the cup, slid it across the counter, but he didn't take it. He just watched me pour it, eyes narrowed, like I was doing surgery on something sacred. When I finally set the cup down, he nodded once. "Perfectly made, Win." I froze. I didn't tell you my name," I said. "It's on your apron," he replied calmly. Right, my apron. But the way he said it felt familiar. He shuffled to a corner table, the far back left, half hidden behind a display shelf of tumblers and whole bean bags. No one sat back there usually. The light flickered. The vent made a soft, rhythmic clicking noise overhead. He pulled something out of his old leather briefcase. Not a laptop, not a book, not a newspaper, a flyer. One of those mailer advertisements people throw away without looking, the kind with living room sets and discount mattresses. He stared at it like it was scripture. Every night after that, he came in. Same hour, same walk, same order. Large coffee, no space. Same corner table, same worthless catalog he pretended to read. At first, I thought he was homeless. Not the sleeping in our bathroom type, but the recently fallen on hard times type. But then I noticed the wristwatch on his arm, a worn-out suit, with a watch that probably cost more than my rent. His behavior got stranger as the days went on. He refilled his coffee constantly. He never drank water. He never talked to anyone except me. His eyes followed me wherever I moved. He wasn't leering. He wasn't evaluating. He wasn't creepy in the typical ways. More like searching. One night, I walked into the back room to grab milk, and when I came out, he was standing closer to the counter than usual, staring at the spot where I'd just been, like he was waiting for me to reappear. My coworker, Jada, a student who worked part-time, leaned close and whispered, "Win, that guy's giving serial killer vibes, no lie." "Yeah," I mumbled. "He's off." "Off? Dude, he's off grid." We laughed, but I could feel the tension under my ribs. Something about him was burrowing into me, inch by inch. On a Friday night, the store emptied out around closing time. We started our usual routine, sweeping, wiping tables, brewers shut off, espresso machine soaking. The man stayed as usual until I told him, "Sir, we're closing for the night." He stood up slowly, too slowly. "All right," he said. "I'll wait." "Wait for what?" I asked. He gave a small smile. "For you." Jada's head whipped toward us. "Nope," she said under her breath. "Absolutely not." I swallowed and forced a customer service tone. "Sir, you can't wait outside the door for me." He blinked. "I can't?" "No." He tilted his head as if considering this new piece of information. Then he walked out, but he didn't leave. He just stood there, right outside the glass doors, hands folded, eyes locked on me through the window. Jada stayed late that night, pretending she had homework. She didn't want to leave me alone with him. When we finally stepped out the front door, I grabbed my keys tight. "Win," she whispered. "Call someone if he..." Too late. He stepped forward. "Let me walk you," he said, voice steady, intentional. "No," I said, trying to stay calm. "Go home." "This is my home," he murmured, "wherever you are." My stomach twisted. "Back up," I said. He didn't. He took a step forward. Jada stepped between us. "Hey, Uncle Creepshow," she snapped. "My dude said back up." Finally, he paused, confused, surprised. Like he'd forgotten other people existed, he turned away without a word and left. He came in the next afternoon, earlier than ever, and he was different, sweating, unshaven, wild-eyed. He walked up to the counter, pupils blown wide, jaw clenched tight. "Double shot espresso," he said. I rang it up and made it quickly. He downed it right there. "Another?" I made another. He downed that too. "Another?" This went on and on. 10 shots, then 12, then 16. My coworkers whispered behind me, "Is that even legal? He's gonna stroke out. Dude's gonna vibrate out of existence." Finally, after maybe his 20th shot, he leaned over the counter. "Win, that's your name." "Yeah," I said softly. "It is." "What's your last name?" he asked. I tensed. "Why?" He laughed, a dry, broken sound. "Because names, they're important. Names tell stories. Names tell origins." I sighed. I was tired. Tired of him. Tired of being scared. "Why do you care?" "Because," he said, breathing heavily, "your last name and mine, they match." I felt a cold shock run up my spine. "My last name," I said slowly, "is Gable." His face twitched. He inhaled sharply, like I'd slapped him. That's my name too," he whispered. Something in his posture folded. "Tell me your first name," I said suddenly. He stared at me, then opened his mouth. "My name is..." He didn't finish. His body jerked violently. His arms spasmed. His mouth foamed. His knees buckled. He collapsed right in front of the pastry case. The sound echoed like a dropped bag of rocks. "Call 911, I yelled as Jada sprinted for the phone. Customers screamed. Someone backed into a table. Another person started crying. I knelt beside him. His pulse was racing. His eyes bulged. His chest heaved in unstable, terrifying bursts. And then, nothing. Stillness. Silence. Paramedics arrived. They tried everything. Compression, oxygen, shock pads. But when one of them checked his wallet, she froze. "You said his name was Gable?" she asked. "Yeah," I whispered. "Why?" She handed me the driver's license. The photo was younger, sharper, healthier, but the eyes were the same. The name was the same. Gregory Allen Gable. My father, the man who left me, the man who vanished, the man who said nothing for 20 years. The man who sat in the corner of a Starbucks reading a damn furniture flyer while staring at the son he abandoned. I didn't recognize him. Not until the very end. Not until he died at my feet. People ask me what grief feels like. It's not one thing. It's 1,000 tiny things. It's the smell of burnt coffee beans at closing time. The repeating drip of a brewer that won't shut off the abandoned corner table where he used to sit. The flyer he left behind, soaked with spilled espresso. The look on Jada's face when she realized who he was. They took his body away. They took his briefcase too. But the flyer remained. I threw it out that night. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd kept something, anything, that proved he was real and not just some fever dream of my overworked mind. But the truth is simple. He tried to find me. He tried in the only way he knew how. He tried too late, and I missed it. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. Maybe that's the real horror. Not ghosts, not monsters, not demons hiding in shadows, but the people who should have loved us, who show up broken, wrong, and years too late. I think about him sometimes when I lock up the store alone, when the espresso machine hisses softly in the dark, when the overhead vent clicks in that same weird rhythm. And sometimes, when I'm wiping down that far corner table, I swear the air feels heavier, like someone's still sitting there, reading, waiting, watching, wishing for one more chance. I don't know if he deserved forgiveness. I don't know if I deserved answers. All I know is he died trying to say his name, trying to say mine, and I'll carry that weight forever. I never thought a cup of coffee could ruin my relationship with sleep, but here I am, wide awake at 3 a.m. every night, replaying the same moments like some broken cassette tape that refuses to shut up. People think trauma hits fast, like a jump scare, but mine came slow, one drip, one look, one morning at a time. Before everything went sideways, my life was painfully normal. I worked as a junior marketing analyst at a mid-sized tech startup in Willow Creek, New Jersey, a place where rent was too high, parking was impossible, and Starbucks was practically a community center. I wasn't a coffee snob. I didn't understand the difference between blonde roast or medium roast, or why people argue about cold brew like it's politics. I just needed caffeine to function. And the Starbucks on Fulton Avenue sat right on my driving route to work. Every morning, warm or freezing, sunny or raining sideways, I pulled into that drive-thru, ordered the same thing, grande vanilla sweet cream cold brew, extra ice. The barista who usually handled the window was Lyle, a skinny kid, maybe 21, always wearing a backwards cap and calling everyone boss. He knew my order, knew my car, knew my terrible habit of leaving my wallet in the cup holder. "Morning, boss," he'd say. "Morning, Lyle." Simple, safe, predictable. But everything changed the morning he showed up. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind where the sun pretends it's going to show up and then bails. I was running late, shocker, and the drive-through line snaked around the building like a stubborn python. When I pulled up to the window, I automatically said, "Morning, Lyle." Same thing, but nobody responded. Nobody even reached for my card. I turned my head expecting Lyle's goofy grin. Instead, I saw a man I had never seen before. He looked mid-40s, maybe older, with sharp cheekbones and a trimmed salt and pepper beard shaped into a V. His eyes were small, dark, and mean, like he had already judged me the moment he saw me. His name tag said Rick in faded marker. I tried to smile. Sorry, I thought someone else was working today." Rick didn't smile back. "Order?" he said, flat like he was reading a grocery list. I repeated it, suddenly aware that he never blinked. Not once. When he handed me the drink, he didn't look away. Those eyes stayed locked onto mine like he was memorizing my face. My stomach twisted. Not in a horror movie way, more like a "this dude gives bad vibes" way. I left fast. I didn't think about it again until the next day. The next afternoon, I had a meeting scheduled with a new client, so we agreed to meet at the same Starbucks. It was too crowded inside, as always, but I found a small table near the window. I was scrolling through emails when I smelled it before I heard anything. Sweat, mixed with burnt coffee grounds. I looked up. Rick was standing right beside my table, too close. "Did you order yet?" he asked. I straightened in my chair. No, I'm waiting for someone." His eyes moved slowly, too slowly, from my face to the chair across from me. "Your boyfriend?" "What? No, dude, that's not your business." A couple people glanced over, sensing tension. Rick smiled. Not a normal smile. It was stretched, stiff, like the corners of his mouth were being pulled by invisible hooks. "I'm Rick," he whispered, like it was supposed to mean something. "Well, good for you," I wanted to say. But I just stared as he walked back behind the counter. For the rest of the meeting, I felt eyes on me. Every time I looked up, I saw someone duck behind the wall of the bar counter. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, that stretched smile flashed back. Normal-ish anyway. I woke up late again and sprinted out the door. "I'm literally addicted to this place," I muttered as I pulled into the drive-through line. When I reached the window, Rick was there, waiting, leaning on his elbows like he'd been expecting me. "Got a late start, huh?" he said, eyebrow raised. I ignored him. "Grande vanilla cold brew." He made it without speaking. When he handed it over, I passed him the cash quickly. That should have been the end. I was about to drive off when his arm shot through my window. Half his body followed. Before I understood what was happening, his face was inches from mine, his breath sour and hot. "If you keep ignoring me," he whispered, "I'll make sure you never talk again, and no guy in your life is gonna save you." Something snapped inside me. I threw the cold brew into his face, ice, cream, coffee all over him, and slapped him hard across the ear. He stumbled back, clutching his face. I screamed, loud enough that a couple cars honked in shock. "What the hell is wrong with you? Who does that? I want to speak to the manager." The manager, a woman named Melanie, ran out. She grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the window. Rick stood there, silent, jaw tight, coffee dripping off his chin. I yelled everything about the leaning into my car, the comments, the threat. Melanie didn't defend him. She didn't say, "I'm sure it was a misunderstanding." She just turned to Rick and said, "You're done. Get out now." He didn't argue. He didn't even look mad. He just looked excited, like this was the part he'd been waiting for. I got a month of free drinks and a shaky apology. I just wanted to go home. But as I drove away, I saw him standing on the sidewalk, soaked in coffee, smiling wide, and waving at me. Hours later, when I got home and headed to my apartment building's elevator, I dropped my empty cup into the trash bin beside the door. That's when I noticed it. On the side of the cup, in black marker, messy handwriting, "Look under me." My heart hiccuped. I flipped the cup. Near the base, another line of writing, "You're even more beautiful up close." Under it, a tiny drawn arrow pointing to the nutrition label. He had blacked out words in the printed text, so the remaining words spelled out, "Careful, I can see you." I dropped the cup like it was burning rubber. My hands shook as I dialed 911. I stayed with my friend Savannah that night. Neither of us slept much. At 5:04 a.m., my phone rang. "Ms. Reyes?" the sheriff said. "Yes?" His voice tightened. "We have an update on the Starbucks employee you reported, Rick Marston." I felt ice crawl down my spine. He broke into his manager's apartment around midnight. Melanie, he attacked her, fatally. Savannah grabbed my arm as I whispered, "Oh my God." The sheriff continued. "Security footage shows him leaving her place just after. The officers found him at his house and took him into custody." He paused. "We also found multiple notebooks, drawings of you, notes, dates, times, routes." For a moment, I didn't feel my body, just static. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "he'd been fixated on you for weeks." My chest collapsed inward. I wasn't relieved. I wasn't grateful. I felt guilty, horribly guilty. Melanie died because she fired him. She fired him because of me. But they kept telling me the same thing. Nothing that happened was your fault. I want to believe that. Sometimes I do. But whenever I smell coffee, whenever someone stands too close behind me, whenever I see a bearded man in a dark jacket, my throat closes, my heartbeat spikes, my hands shake. People think trauma hits fast. But for me, it hit slowly, one morning at a time, until it finally swallowed everything. I haven't touched coffee since, not Starbucks, not anywhere. I can't even look at the green logo without imagining his face pressed against my car window. Smiling, watching, waiting. I never thought my life would split cleanly into two halves, the part before that night and the part after. But that's exactly what happened during the summer after I finished high school. I grew up in Redwood Hills, a medium-sized American town where nothing crazy ever happens. People here cared more about PTA meetings and Little League than ghost stories. We had a Target, a Walmart, 2 gas stations, and a Starbucks that opened right by the freeway exit. I got hired there in June, night shift, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Perfect for someone who needed cash before college and didn't mind weird hours. My manager, Lorraine Caldwell, was this 40-something woman with permanently tired eyes and a "don't make it my problem" attitude. She hired me after a 5-minute interview. "You look like you can handle yourself," she said, signing my paperwork. "And night shifts are chill as hell. Just keep the place clean and don't fall asleep. Sound good?" I nodded, not knowing how much I'd regret that. Money. Money, plain and simple. My mom worked double shifts at the rehab clinic downtown. My dad wasn't really in the picture, so I had to handle my own college savings, gas, groceries, everything. I wasn't picky. Starbucks paid well enough, let employees drink all the coffee we wanted, and night shifts meant fewer customers and fewer awkward interactions. Still, when I told my best friend Jace about the hours, his reaction stuck with me. "Dude, don't they say weird shit happens at that Starbucks?" "Like what?" I asked. He shrugged. "I don't know, just rumors. Someone said the pipes hum at night, like hum hum, creepy hum. I think the building's old or whatever." I laughed it off. Buildings make noises. Coffee machines make noises. Life makes noises. What I didn't know was, some noises don't come from machines at all. It was July 18th, humid, sticky, the kind of night where the air conditioning feels like heaven. I clocked in a little after 10. The store was quiet, just the low hum of refrigerators and the soft whoosh of the iced coffee machine. I wore a green apron tied too tight around my waist and a cheap headset that clicked and buzzed more than it should. "All good?" Lorraine asked before leaving. I nodded. "Yeah, just a bit tired." "Make yourself a latte. Helps you stay sharp. Doors lock automatically at 11. Call me if anything breaks." She waved goodbye and slipped out. When her SUV pulled away from the lot, I felt that weird pressure of being completely alone in a quiet building. But the first hour, totally normal. I cleaned counters, restocked cups, scrolled Instagram, and played music low from the back speaker. Then everything started shifting, slowly at first. At 12:52 a.m., I was sitting behind the counter watching YouTube on my phone when I heard a sharp clatter behind me. I turned. A tower of grand cups had toppled onto the floor. Annoying but not horrifying. "Guess the AC's too damn strong," I muttered. I restacked them and kept scrolling. 5 minutes later, crash. The cups fell again and again, on the exact same side, as if someone flicked them. I walked over, frowned, and carefully rebuilt the tower. "Stay," I said under my breath, lightly tapping the stack like it was a misbehaving dog. But as I turned back to the register, thud, from the kitchen. That one wasn't cups, it was heavier, like someone had knocked something off a shelf. For a full 10 seconds, I just stood there, frozen, listening. Nothing. Still, my legs carried me to the swinging kitchen door. The kitchen was dark except for the soft emergency light near the oven. And there, on the floor, was a rolled-up Starbucks poster that normally hung near the dessert prep station. It hadn't been windy. No doors had opened. Nothing should have made it fall. I picked it up, set it on the counter, and shook my head. "Old tape, that's all," I whispered. But my hands had a faint tremble. I checked the thermostat, cranked the AC off completely. Silence settled over the store, thick, heavy, almost suffocating. Around 1:40 a.m., my headset beeped. Shrill, unexpected, beep. I straightened. The drive-through monitor turned on. No one in the lane, nobody's headlights, just darkness. Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you tonight?" No answer. I waited. Nothing. Then the monitor clicked off. 2 minutes later, beep. Same thing. No car, no voice. This happened again and again and again. Every 2 minutes, like someone or something was tapping a button I couldn't see. I pulled off the headset and muttered, "Bro, is someone screwing with me right now?" I checked the cameras. Zero movement outside. Zero cars. Parking lot empty. At 2:17 a.m., while I leaned over the counter trying to shake off the unease, the espresso machine suddenly erupted. Not just dripped, not leaked, it spewed boiling foam and coffee like a fire hydrant. I lunged and hit the switch. The machine hissed like something alive had been cut off mid-breath. My heart hammered. I mumbled, "I swear I turned you off. What the hell's going on tonight?" The AC was off, the doors were locked, the machine was off. Yet something felt awake, moving, watching. I brushed off the feeling and went to the restroom because the coffee chaos had freaked me out so badly it twisted my stomach. When I came back out, I froze so hard it felt like my spine locked. On the main counter, right in front of the register, was a perfectly stacked pyramid of paper cups. Not one, not two, dozens. The kind you'd see in a YouTube challenge. My breath shook as I whispered, "Who's here? Hello?" No answer, just the hum of refrigerators. I told myself it had to be teenagers who slipped in somehow. Or maybe I was overtired, or losing it. But then I blinked. One blink, 10 seconds tops. And when I opened my eyes, there weren't just a few pyramids. There were 50, maybe more, covering the entire counter, covering the floor, covering the pickup station. Hundreds of cups, all balanced impossibly. My knees almost buckled. No, 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 this is not real. I backed up so fast I hit the wall. The store was too quiet, dead quiet. That's when a bang echoed from the kitchen again. I swallowed hard and forced myself through the swinging door. The second I stepped inside, the lights cut out. Pitch black, not dim, not flickering, gone. I stood there, unable to breathe, darkness pressing in like it had hands. Then came the humming. Soft at first, faint, almost musical. It drifted from the sink pipes. A woman's voice, humming like an old lullaby. I whispered, "No way." But the humming grew louder, clearer, like she was rising through the metal, like she was right below the drain cover. I leaned forward slowly, stupidly, trying to see inside the drain. My hand shook as I held my phone flashlight over it. And then, the faucet exploded. Coffee, scalding, dark, thick as syrup, gushed out with terrifying force. It filled the sink, spilled over, splashed onto my shoes. And then the faucet shook like something was pushing from inside the pipe. A rumbling sound, like someone was stuck, fighting, forcing their way through. And then, something bulged out. Not water, not foam. A head. A huge, swollen, wet head of a woman, forcing itself out of a faucet no bigger than my fist. Her skin was pale and slick, like she'd been underwater for years. Her hair spilled out behind her like black tentacles, moving on their own. Her eyes, God. Yellow pupils floating in pitch-black eyeballs. No lips. Just a wide, exposed mouth lined with jagged teeth. And where her ears should have been, gills. Her voice gurgled out of her throat. "Ha! Low!" I screamed so loud my voice cracked. She kept pulling herself forward, her shoulders dislocating, bones cracking, her body squeezing out of a space no human could fit through. I turned and ran. I crashed through the front door, sprinted across the parking lot barefoot. I'd stepped right out of my shoes in the coffee flood, and didn't stop running until I reached Walmart half a mile down the road. People stared as I collapsed near the checkout area. A woman knelt beside me. "Honey, what happened? You okay?" I shook my head violently. "There's something in the Starbucks, something in the pipes. She came out of the faucet, I swear. Please, come." A few employees followed me back. I begged them not to go inside, but when they unlocked the door, the store was spotless. No coffee flood, no broken lights, no pyramids of cups, no humming, just a perfectly clean Starbucks, exactly as I'd left it earlier in the night. They looked at me like I needed a psychiatrist, and maybe I did. I moved away from Redwood Hills, got a different job, started therapy, started pretending everything was fine. But at night, when the house is quiet, sometimes I swear I hear it again. That humming, soft, slow, calling me back. And the one thing that terrifies me most? Coffee. I can't drink it, can't smell it, can't stand the sight of it, because I know what lives in the pipes. I know what night shifts hide. I know what Starbucks buildings were really built over. And if coffee is the doorway, then someday she might come through again. And this time, I don't think she'll stop at the kitchen sink. I never thought a single shift could ruin my entire life, but here I am, typing this on a borrowed phone under a highway overpass because I don't have a place to sleep tonight. Funny thing is, I used to serve coffee to people driving to their fancy condos across this same highway. Before everything collapsed, I worked at the Starbucks on Redwood and Maddox, a spot jam-packed every morning with college kids, hospital nurses, and tech bros who walked in rehearsing emails in their heads. I was good at the morning shift. Real good. More customers equals more tips equals rent paid on time. My name's Jalen Crow, or Jay, like my apron tag said. I'm 23, and until 3 weeks ago, my life was simple, predictable, almost boring. Boring sounds like heaven now. I wasn't supposed to work mornings originally. I'd begged my manager, Rowan, to switch me because I needed extra money to help my little sister, Kira, with her school supplies. Rowan was a decent guy, 40-something, sarcastic, walked like he was always late. He said, "All right, Jay, but don't complain when you start hating the sunrise." I never complained. I liked the sunrise. It felt like a reset button. Until her. It was a chilly Monday, air sharp enough to make your knuckles crack. I walked the 2 blocks from my apartment toward the store, sipping leftover cold brew I'd taken home the night before. That's when I saw her. A woman sitting on the sidewalk right in front of the Starbucks doors. Not slumped, not passed out, sitting straight, like she'd been waiting for somebody. She looked middle-aged, maybe early 40s, skin grayish, hair matted, clothes layered but filthy. She had one of those airport-style rolling suitcases beside her, except the fabric was torn and the zipper dangled like a loose tooth. She wasn't begging or talking to herself like some homeless folks do. She was rubbing her forearms against the concrete, hard, like she was trying to wipe something off her skin. She paused when she noticed me. Her eyes, God, those eyes were glassy, unfocused, but locked on me like she'd been expecting me. She stood, snatched her suitcase handle, and walked off without a word. I stepped closer to where she'd been sitting. The concrete was smeared with dark, sticky red. Blood, not old blood, fresh and thick. "Jesus," I whispered. I wanted to pretend it was something else, jam, paint, anything. But the smell, no. I grabbed a cup of steaming water from inside and rinsed the spot off as best I could. Not out of kindness, just didn't want customers asking questions 5 minutes into opening. I unlocked the store and told myself to forget it. Should have never ignored that first warning. By 7:15 a.m., the shop was booming. Mobile order for Travis. Grande cold foam cold brew. Next, my co-workers, Rhea and Ollie, were already in go mode, laughing between orders. "Rowan's late again," Rhea muttered. "When is he not?" I said, sliding a latte across the counter. The morning crowd was thick, loud, and impatient. Exactly how Mondays go, and then everything froze. Because she walked in, the same woman from earlier. She pushed through the door so fast the bell smacked the glass. People turned, some because of the smell, some because she was mumbling under her breath, some because she didn't look. Well, she walked straight at me. Her smile was wide, too wide, teeth yellowed, gums almost black in spots. "Morning, sunshine," she rasped. "Place me an order." I swallowed. "Ma'am, what can I get for you?" She slapped a $10 bill down so hard it slid toward the pastry case. She leaned in close, breath sour enough to sting. "You look jumpy," she said. "Why's that? 'Cause you saw me outside? 'Cause you saw my blood?" I froze. "Ma'am, I might have to ask you to step outside." Her face flushed hot with rage. "Oh, I get it," she said. "I'm not Starbucks material. You think I'm garbage. That's not." She stepped back and yelled, "Everyone look, he doesn't want to serve me 'cause I look like this." People stared. Phones came out. "Ma'am, please." She spit on the floor. "Call security," Ollie whispered. I reached for my phone. She screamed, "I'll show you what you do to women like me." She grabbed a chair, lifted it like it weighed nothing, and smashed it onto the floor. Customers ran. Someone shouted for the police. I tried to grab the chair before she threw it again, but she elbowed me. Right in my eye. Her elbow was wet. Her blood smeared onto my face. Into my eye. I winced, wiped it reflexively, and she leaned close enough for me to smell the rot on her skin. "Now you'll know my pain," she whispered. And then she grabbed her suitcase and stormed out. I thought she meant she'd file a complaint. I didn't know she meant something else, something crawling and unseen. That night I showered off the store grime and noticed faint red dots on my arms. No itch, no sting, just dots. "Probably stress hives," I muttered. "I've never been so wrong in my life." The next morning, I woke to my skin burning under the blanket. When I looked in the mirror, I choked. Red blotches, raised bumps, puffy skin, almost glowing with irritation. I didn't have a shift that morning, so I rushed to an urgent care clinic. The doctor, a woman with tired eyes, examined me. "You're just having an allergic reaction," she said. "Happens all the time. Did you use a new detergent?" "No." "New lotion?" "No." "Any contact with something unusual?" I swallowed hard. "Blood." She froze. "Human blood?" "Yeah. A woman elbowed me at work." The doctor blinked slowly like she didn't want follow-up questions. "Well, it's still likely just hives. I'll give you an injection to bring the swelling down." The injection didn't help. By night, the bumps had doubled. I wore long sleeves to my shift. But the itching, holy hell, the itching felt like fire ants tap dancing under my skin. Behind the counter, between steaming milk and passing drinks, I'd rub my arms against the stainless steel counters just to feel something other than the burning. When customers weren't looking, I'd scratch myself raw. Rhea whispered, "You okay, Jay? You look off." "I'm fine," I lied. But I wasn't. At noon, I ran to the bathroom and tore off my shirt. My torso was covered in clusters, not normal bumps. These were swollen, blister-like, merging together under the skin. I stared in horror. "What the hell is happening to me?" I whispered. When I pressed one, clear fluid seeped out. I stumbled back onto the floor. A guy came up for his drink. "Hey man, this isn't a grande." I reached for the cup to swap it, and a patch of skin stuck to the cup like warm taffy. I screamed. Customers screamed. Someone gagged. Rowan rushed over. "Jay, you need to go home. Now." Rowan, my skin." "I'm sorry, man," he said, voice breaking. "But we can't have, whatever this is, around food." That night I was fired. Things spiraled. My apartment complex told me I needed to temporarily vacate until I had medical clearance to prove my condition wasn't contagious. I tried explaining. No one listened. Neighbors stared like I was radioactive. Even Kira cried when she saw me. Within 3 days, every blister had ruptured. My skin looked boiled. My hair fell out in clumps. My teeth loosened. And the itching never stopped. Ever. I scratched until I bled, then scratched the blood. The woman's voice replayed in my head. "Now you'll know my pain." Whatever she had, whatever she carried, whatever lived under her skin, she gave it to me. Maybe she wasn't homeless. Maybe she was sick. Maybe she was dying and wanted someone to suffer with her. I don't know, but I know this. I'm becoming her. Last night, desperate for shade, I wandered behind the row of dumpsters behind the Starbucks, and I saw it, her suitcase, abandoned, half unzipped. Something inside moved, not big, not fast, just wriggling. I didn't open it, not because I wasn't curious, but because some part of me already knows whatever's in that suitcase is also under my skin. I always tell people the same thing when they ask about the night that changed my life. I shouldn't have survived it. Not with the way everything lined up. Not with how close they got. I'm 22 now, but this happened when I had just turned 17. Back then, I was the kid who said yes to every shift because I didn't want to lose the job that gave me my first taste of independence. I worked at a Starbucks in a small, quiet town in northern Michigan, a place where folks still waved at each other from their cars and complained about the weather like it was a sport. My name is Rylan, and this is exactly how everything went down. Why I even worked there. My mom was a nurse, 12-hour shifts, rotating schedules, sleep whenever she could. My stepdad worked long-haul trucking, meaning some weeks it was just me in the house. Money wasn't horrible, but it also wasn't great. So when I turned 17, I applied to every place hiring within a 30-minute drive. The Starbucks in Maple Ridge Plaza was the first to call me back. The manager, Kendra, liked me because I could talk fast, listen faster, and didn't freak out when multiple people ordered 3-shot custom drinks with 6 modifiers. "You're young, but you've got hustle," she told me during my interview. That place became my second home. Morning shifts were chaos. Evening shifts were chill. Night shifts. Well, that's what this story's about. And yeah, I had to rely on rides. Only one car in the family. Either my mom or my stepdad dropped me off. Mostly my stepdad because his roots let him get home earlier. The Starbucks I worked at was at the far end of the plaza. Next to us was a nail salon, a frozen yogurt place, and a closed-down Blockbuster with boarded windows that always creeped me out, even in daylight. The plaza looked harmless until it didn't. The day everything started to go wrong. It was a Thursday in late September. Fall in Michigan hits hard and fast, cold enough to see your breath at night, but warm enough during the day that people still wore shorts. My stepdad dropped me off at 4 p.m. "Text me when you're starting to close," he said. "Yeah, I got you." I didn't know it then, but I would forget that text. Inside, the store looked like any other Starbucks around closing time. Half-clean tables, students with laptops, soft indie music, the bitter smell of espresso clinging to every surface. My coworker that night was Bray, a dude in his mid-20s with sleeve tattoos and a habit of calling everyone man, regardless of gender. "Slow night, huh?" he said as I clocked in. "Yeah, I'm not complaining." If only I had known how badly I'd want customers later. We made drinks, wiped counters, helped a few people. Totally normal, until around 6:30. That was the first time I saw him. He walked in like he owned the place. The bell above the door jingled, and in walked a man around 50, tall, unshaven, gray hoodie that looked stretched too far at the wrists, faded jeans, and the smell. God. Not just cigarettes, wet ash and stale smoke like he'd been living in it. He walked in with a lit cigarette between his fingers. Bray whispered, "Bro, the hell?" The guy didn't give a single crap. He just looked around the cafe like he was picking a table, then flicked the cigarette onto the floor and put it out with his shoe. "Sir, you can't smoke in here," I said, trying to sound firm, even though my voice came out wobbly. He ignored that, just stared at me, smiling. "Getting a drink for my girl," he said. "She likes sweet stuff." His voice was off, friendly, but too friendly, like he was acting. "What can I get for you?" I asked, forcing a polite tone. Vanilla something, the cold one, extra foam." I rang him up. He paid in crumpled bills covered in dirt, maybe ashes. I made the drink as fast as I could, handed it over, and he left without another word. Bray shook his head. Dude looked like a walking red flag. Yeah, I muttered, at least he's gone. But he wasn't, not even close. Closing time. When I screwed up, we closed at 8 o'clock, but cleanup usually took another 20 minutes. Except I messed up. I forgot to call my stepdad early so he could leave on time. At 8:05, I called him. Shoot, kiddo, okay, I'll be there soon. I'm on my way. I said bye to Bray, locked the doors, and he headed toward his car on the other side of the lot. There was a small wooden bench right outside the Starbucks entrance. I sat down, scrolling through my phone, trying to keep my hands warm inside my jacket sleeves. Footsteps approached behind me, but I didn't think anything of it. People walked that plaza all the time. It wasn't until a shadow fell across my phone screen that I looked up, and my stomach dropped so hard I felt nauseous. He was back, and he brought 2 men with him. The man from earlier stood right in front of me, and flanking him were 2 others. One tall, lanky, buzz cut. One shorter, broad shoulders, wearing a dirty camo jacket. All 3 were looking at me, smiling. Not friendly smiling, predatory smiling. I jerked up from the bench, my phone slipping from my hand and hitting the pavement. Hey, the cigarette guy said softly. Don't be scared, we just want to talk. I tried to step sideways toward the lit parking lot, but Buzzcut moved in front of me. Relax, he said. You're good. No, I'm leaving. My voice cracked. My hands shook so badly I hid them in my sleeves. When I tried to move again, Camo Jacket blocked the other side. Why you in a hurry? He asked. Their body language said everything. They didn't want a conversation. They wanted me cornered. I could feel tears pricking the back of my eyes. My throat tightened so much it hurt. Please, I whispered. I don't know you. Cigarette guy leaned in closer than anyone should ever lean into a stranger. Come on, sweetheart, he murmured. We're being real nice. For a second, just one, I thought this was it. That nobody would see me. Nobody would hear me. Nobody would headlights, horn. My dad, saving my life. A blinding wall of white light washed over us. A car horn blared. Long, angry, desperate. All 3 men snapped their heads toward the parking lot. My dad's SUV screeched to a stop maybe 10 feet away from us. He slammed his hand on the horn again, leaning halfway out the window. Hey, back off her! The men bolted. All 3 sprinted into the dark area behind the old Blockbuster. I grabbed my phone off the ground and ran to the SUV so fast I nearly slipped. As soon as I climbed in, the door still open, I heard my dad yelling into his phone. Yeah, 3 men, gray hoodie, camo jacket, behind Maple Ridge Plaza. My daughter, they cornered her. Please hurry. I'd never heard his voice shake before. He kept glancing at me, eyes wide, like he needed to make sure I was still there. Are you okay? Rylan, baby, are you hurt? I just shook my head. Couldn't speak yet. We waited until the police arrived. They searched the plaza. They took my statement. My dad repeated the description over and over like he was terrified they wouldn't understand how close it had been. At the time, it felt like nothing really physically happened, but emotionally, I knew I wasn't walking away untouched. 2 days later, the cops called. They caught all 3 men behind an abandoned gas station 10 miles away. 2 of them had pending charges for trying similar things to other girls in surrounding towns. 1 girl didn't escape. I didn't sleep for weeks after hearing that. Years later, sometimes people ask me why I still remember every detail. It's simple, because if my dad had been even 1 minute later, if his headlights hadn't hit that exact angle, if he stopped for gas, if he hit 1 extra red light, I wouldn't be here writing this. I learned something that night. Evil doesn't always hide in dark forests or haunted houses. Sometimes it walks into a Starbucks at 6:30 p.m., orders a drink, smiles at you, and waits until you're alone.